Hello, everyone. Welcome to So What? On this stream, we sew everything we craft, we sew, we chat it up, we talk about fashion, we talk about style, we talk about everything, and you can ask me questions in the chat. Tonight, we are going to be working on. First of all, let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me okay. But tonight, we are going to redesign a pair of the mouse ears. Yay! So, we're going to take these plain black Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse ears, and we are going to customize them. And this is something, if you're into crafting, that's awesome. I'm glad you can hear me. So, we're going to take these cute little ears, and we are actually going to design these for a special person. And hopefully, I don't know if she's working tonight, but if not, Lakrita, these are for you. And that's what we're working with. And we're going to make them in this mermaid stretchy fabric that we purchased from Big Lots. So before I start talking about the mouse ears, I am going to show you what I already did to start out. And basically, this is what you can do to, hey, hi there, all about glam. So you could take a basic pair of ears that you find on Amazon, and basically you could turn them into whatever you want them to be. So, what we are going to do first off, I use these. It's kind of fluffy by itself, so I didn't have to stuff it to decorate them. But what I did was I used this as a pattern, and I traced it out onto the fabric, as you can see. But what I did in order to trace it out on the fabric, and I'm going to show you this, I did have a pattern already cut out. I'm not certain. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is the pattern. Oops. This is the pattern that I made from the ear, and I'm going to show you that when we start crafting. And then this is, let's see if I can get you to see that. So I'm going to show you how I traced it, and then those dotted lines that you see are from me adding seam allowance. So I'm going to show you on when I go to my main crafting screen, I'm going to show you the first initial step to trying to trace the ears, and you could trace it without having to take the ear off of the headband. So the first thing we did, and I'm going to go to my main crafting screen so that you can see, have an idea of what I did here. So let me do this. I had some music in the background because my Spotify on the computer is kind of acting wonky. So let's see if we could get some music going. And you'll have to let me know if it gets too loud in the main crafting. So I'm going to the main crafting. Oops. Can you hear me okay? Is the music too loud? Okay, great. So we have some ribbon here that we may use. I never know what I'm going to use when I start designing. We have some little seashells. These are so cute. We have some anchors, and I believe I bought all of these from Joann's. Let's see, what else do we have in here? I'm not going to use the butterfly because we're working with a mermaid theme. So here's a butterfly. And then this was another project I was working on, but I thought they were so cute. I could make, let's see if I can show you. I can make earrings. I can make a pair of earrings with this. They're little candy. Can you see? Okay, so let's get started. Let me push this up so that you can see. Okay, so what I did was I took the ear, and I'm going to do one from beginning so that you can watch and you can see how I did it. So there's the ear. And I usually work with a pencil, but so that you can see what I'm working on, I'm going to use an ink pen so that it shows up dark. Okay, so I basically pushed it down. My hand is in the way. Let's see. So basically, I went all around the ear like that. And then on the inside, I traced around here. And it's okay if you go past the outside edge. So now when I lift that up, you can see that I have ears. And then I have a broken style ruler that I use for pattern making. So, but I'm still going to use it because I can use this curve to help clean up the edges. I know some people don't do that, but that's the fashion designer in me. We were trained to true up our edges and the things that we were, the pattern, when we're making a pattern. And of course, if I have what's called a French curve, and I do have one, but it's at my studio, I could use the edge of that too. Or if you had, let's say you didn't have one and you wanted to use something like this, you could just sit this down and use the edge of the spool of ribbon to fix your curve. And so then what I did next, this is the rest of the broken off piece. So then I fixed that and made it go into the edge there. And again, this one came out pretty good, so I don't even have to do anything. Now, if you've never used a ruler like this dark line is 1 inch. And it's divided into 1/8 of an inch sections. So 2 of these would be 1/4 inch. 3 would be 3/8. 4 would be 1/2 an inch. And the same. So it's in equal parts. So for the outside, let's see if you can see this. So for the outside, I line up that edge right here where it's hitting the line, and then I just dotted it all the way down into the seam. And you can purchase these rulers at Joann's. I have one that's a 2-inch ruler too, which I prefer even more so. So you take that and you basically trace all around. That's going to become the seam allowance, and I'm going to show you up close. You probably can't see it. I'm just gonna take the pin and actually I'll do my scissors so that you can see. Maybe I could use my chalk because that's what I traced around with chalk so that you could see where that stitching line is. So I've already stitched around that. Hopefully you can see that. Let's see. It's kind of hard because it's black. So again, you take the ruler and you just keep marking around the edge. And if you were making a dress pattern, this is the same technique that you would use. And I know some crafters don't want to be this precise, but for me, I've been doing real patterns for years and it's just ingrained in me. And to me, it doesn't take that long to be precise for it to come out nice. So again, we're just going to trace around and drop any questions that you might have in the chat. And hopefully, how did I learn all of this? Again, if you were on my other stream, I started sewing when I was 5 years old. I went to a fashion high school in New York, Fashion Industries, where actually, let me back it up. I went to junior high school in New York and then I went to Fashion Industries. I had to take a test to get into. In New York they have specialized schools and Fashion Industries is still a thing, and I've often thought about going back there to teach, but I don't want to move back to New York, so that's one of my hesitations. But anyway, I went to fashion school there for my high school years, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And from there, I went to Fashion Institute of Technology for fashion design. My degree is in fine arts. So you study so many different disciplines. Is the music too loud? Let me know if the music is too loud. Okay, so we're almost done. Now at this bottom curve, oops, I'm sorry, I was off camera. Let's see. Trying to get it to the right spot. Okay, so we still need to put the seam allowance around here. And because I want this a little bit, the seam a little bit thicker, I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch on this side. So, and again, if you don't have the curve like this, you could use the edge of the box. And then just draw your line. And then I finish that by going straight down. And there's the pattern. I'm going to go back to the main screen for a second. Well, you'll see. You can see. So that's the pattern. This is the pattern. cut out. So we just followed the edge that we just created and we cut it out. And then I put that on the fabric. And the thing about the fabric, because you want two, you're going to take the right side of the fabric and fold it over. So then that's where you see the black. And then because I wanted my scallops coming down, I put the pattern like this so that this part would be in the bottom. This part here, so that would be the bottom part that gets sewn. So I put that on top of the fabric and I traced around it with a piece of chalk. And this is just chalk, blackboard chalk that you could get from the dollar store, or you could get it from Walmart, any place like that that sells school supplies. Okay, so now, like I said, I traced around. I folded my fabric over, and then I traced around it, and then I stitched where that seam allowance was. I stitched all around here. The only thing I didn't do was stitch here because we're going to open that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, oh, before I do that, I had a little piece of fabric over here. So I took my ruler and I cut an inch strip. That's this part. And then I folded it over. This was an inch, and then I folded it in so that I could have a clean edge on the other side. So, and again, this is stretching. So what I'm going to do now is cut this apart. I'm trying to do it so you can see what I'm doing, what I'm working with. Let's see. There, that's better. And usually I use bigger scissors, but I'm just using these because they are accessible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this apart. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut around. And it's easier if you hold the fabric down with one hand and cut with the other hand. If you're lefty, you just reverse it and do it the other way. I have a friend, she's left-handed, so everything I do, she does the opposite because she's left-handed. So now this one I'm going to cut right on the edge because my seam allowance is already in this. Remember we added 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so that's one ear cut out. So now I'm going to cut the other ear out. And again, I would be using bigger scissors, but these were handy. And I don't think I have any of my other. No, those are crafting scissors. You don't want to use scissors like this. Those are paper crafting scissors. So, again, I'm going to use these. And I'm just repeating on this side what I did on the other side. So for some people, this part might not be fun. You could do this by hand, the sewing part, if you don't have a sewing machine, or if you have an overlock machine, you can serge this on the overlock machine too. I made a pair that I had to do by hand because I didn't have a sewing machine accessible to me.
A Louisiana vacation is different for everyone.
Okay.
My Louisiana dance in the street celebration. Or you can
Okay, so
have a sunrise over the water.
we cut that out,
The gator-filled
and
swamp.
I just have to
Or
cut.
it's kicking back with a bowl of gumbo and some live music. But for you, well, it could be whatever you want it to be. Because when
Okay,
you find your Louisiana, you feed your soul. Visit findyourlouisiana.com.
okay. So there we have two ears. Yay! An overlock machine is a machine that is, it can either sew 3 threads, 2 threads, or 4 or 5 threads. And if you look inside any garment that you have, you will see this seam on the edge. And basically, that's what it puts that edge on whatever seam you're working on. And it's one type of clean finishing the garment, or it's the way that it stitches on a knit fabric to keep it from running. Okay, so we're going to turn this inside out now. So our ear is taking shape. And again, I stitched this on my regular straight stitch machine, and I have a uh, I'm gonna get I have a dowel, and I'm just gonna use that to help push these edges, to push the edges out. You could use a knitting needle too, anything that won't poke it, or sometimes I even use the head of a pencil, the eraser part. So we're going to turn this inside out. And so we have 4 pieces of fabric. When you folded this over, that's how we ended up with 2. We cut 2 at a time. And I actually stitched them together before. Oops, I'm turning it back the wrong way. I actually stitched it together before I cut it apart because I figured it would be easier to keep it from, since they're so tiny, it keeps it from moving and shifting. So it was really easy to do it that way. So there we have both of our ears. They're turned right side out, and they're on both sides. So now what I am going to do, well, actually, I was going to put them on the ear, but I'm actually going to cut the ear off. I'm going to have to sew it back on though. I might do that because I want to wrap the headband. So I'm going to have to stitch them back on. And these are, I believe they're glued on. And actually what I'm going to do is put a mark where they meet. Actually, I'm going to measure that so I'll know where to put them back. So they are exactly 2 1/8 inches apart. But it was just easier for me to wrap the headband. I don't want to cut into the headband, so I actually would have liked for my scissors to have been a little bit more sharp, because it is cutting. I don't really want to cut the ear off, and I don't want to cut a hole into the band. So it's easier for me to just kind of pull it. They were glued on. They're not sewn on. And if you don't want to take them off, you don't have to. So I'm just going to cut them off. Because it's just going to be easier to wrap them. Okay, so there's one. It's funny. Oh, I'm earless. Help me, help me, help me. Hey, Reaper. Love the ears, thanks. Hey there. Okay, so I feel bad. It's like I'm missing an ear. Can somebody help me? Frankenso. Okay, so let's take this other ear off. And we're going to actually put them back on. We're going to sew them though. Let's see if I could pull this one off. They glued these on for dear life, let me tell you. Okay. I could have done this a different way, but I was trying to be demure, cutesy, and demure. Okay, so there's the other ear, and we left a boo-boo, but not to worry, that's going to all be covered up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stuff the ear into the ear. And this is where your pattern making will show whether or not you did a good job or not, because we want these to be close. So I'm stuffing the ear inside the other ear. So we made like a little pocket. There we go. Can you see? So we got an ear. Yay! It's swimming. Okay, we're going to stuff the other ear. And what I did is I'm folding it like a taco to poke it into the hole. And as you can see, the edge of the hole is not that wide, so it doesn't have to be really, really wide. Okay, so we're going to stuff this in there. And because this is a knit, it's going to allow us to stuff it like that. And whatever you take apart, you should be able to put back together. Just remember the steps of how you took it apart. Make yourself some notes if you have to. This is rather simple, so you don't have to. But I will tell you, you need to make sure that when you put this in, the opening is where if you can see, the opening is where we have the other part of the ear. We want that opening to be the same spot. We don't want the opening to be over here. Okay? So now we're going to stuff this in a little bit further because remember we left a 1/4 inch seam allowance at the edge. So let me get my straight pins and I'll show you. Okay, here it is. So if I were to pin this, do you see that that's a 1/4 inch? That's that 1/4 inch that we added. Right there. So we have 2 ears now, and they're both in the right position. So after this, we're going to work on the headband part. Okay, so we got 2 ears, and now we're going to work on the headband part. If I had stitched this, then I would be able to just slide the headband through it. But since I didn't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it. So I'm going to, and I may just use a pin, a straight pin, to pin that edge to wrap it. Like that. And honestly, if I had had more fabric, I would have sewn this into a little casing so that I could have just put the headband straight through it, but I don't like that. Okay, let me try this a different way. Okay. So I'm just gonna wrap it like that. I'll come back and do something with those ends. And I'm pulling this tight because I don't want it to move. I think I'm gonna put it even closer to the end. So all I'm doing is wrapping this around the edge. And who knows, I may change my mind and do it a different way. When you're designing, that's your choice to do whatever works for you, for the vision that you have. There's no right or wrong way to design it. There is a right or wrong way when we're talking about sewing. So I'm just wrapping this, making sure the edges stay tucked under, because as you can see, the bottom looks just like the top. Chatting but lurking. Okay. We appreciate any lurkers, watchers. You know what, guys? I may end up running out of fabric. So I may have to do this a different way because it's looking like I don't have enough fabric to go around this way. And I don't have any more of this fabric. So we are going to have to do a different way. But you see how pretty that looks? And it's just as pretty on the inside. But unfortunately, that's not going to make it. Yeah, and this isn't enough fabric. I know you're thinking, well, you got that piece there. That's not enough fabric. Okay, so we're gonna have to do something different. But that's okay. You have to be flexible. Like the headband. Flexible. Flexible. Okay. So we don't have enough to do it that way. But we do have enough to do it this way. So I am going to stitch, not stitch. Actually, I have these cute little clips I'm going to show you. I bought a whole tin on Amazon. It came just like that in this cute little tin. And I can't remember how much I paid for it, but what it is, they're little clips. So I'm going to clip this instead of using my straight pins. I'm going to clip it around the edge of the headband. And I'm only worrying about one side right now. I'll get to the other side in a moment. See, I have more than enough to do it this way. So you got to do what works. Now I do want to keep this side out. Okay.
You should celebrate yourself every day, but some days you should celebrate with jewelry. Whether you want to commemorate an unforgettable
Okay,
moment,
so we're gonna keep going around.
Blue Nile will offer you expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com today and experience the ease and convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
So you can see that I have enough to do this. So, yes, it does. My sign says, so what? So what? I ran out of fabric. So what? We're going to make it work. That's so what? That's what. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off. That's a commitment. If that wasn't going to work, I don't have any more fabric. Okay. So, and you know what? I just came up with a great idea. I'm going to I'm going to change this yet again because guess what? I like the way it's on the edge. So, I am going to leave the folded edge so that some of the black is showing. Look at that. I like that. See the black on the inside? Let's see. See the black on the inside and then the edge, how that has a nice edge on both sides? That's what I'm going to do. And a lot of times in the design process, stuff like this happens. You discover a better way. What is this? This is the third time I've made a change here. So this is why when people say, oh, it's just a simple thing, depending on how you do it, it may take some time. So those intricate wedding gowns that I make, where I do all of this handwork, it takes time. It takes hours. And yes, I could glue this, but I'm not going to glue it. I may glue it in spots after I sew it, but I'm going to stitch this actually. And again, if I had like a whole tube, I may have just slipped the headband in it. Okay, so now I'm folding this under. I love these little clips. They're like clothespins. They're so cute. Okay. And again, for those of you who might be watching that say, oh, she could have just sewn a tube and slipped it in the tube. You're right. But guess what? I didn't have enough fabric. So on this channel, we make it work if we don't have enough fabric. Okay, so that's how that is. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and I'm going to stitch right along the edge. I'm going to show you how I stitch along the edge. So I'm going to take a needle and thread, and I'm going to rethread this because this is not long enough. So I'm going to pull off some thread, and this is serger thread. If you're wondering why it looks like it's in a cone, is because I use this on my serger. On the overlock, I use anywhere from 2, 3, or 5 of these when I'm making a garment. So I'm going to thread this needle. And a trick with threading a needle, first of all, you don't lick your tongue and then do it or put it in your mouth, because that makes the edge of the thread swell, and then it definitely doesn't want to go into the needle. So you cut it at an angle. And so now I could take that and thread it right through the needle, which is what I just did. And then now when I make my knot, let's see, when I make my knot, I am gonna wrap it around my finger, and then there's the knot. Can you see that knot that I made? So now I'm going to stitch it through the fabric, and I'm stitching it on the edge. I am not, you will not see this stitch. And again, yes, I could glue this, but I don't want to glue it. I want to stitch it so that it's secure. And you remember where it said, my hair, it don't move. It don't move. Well, this stitch is not going to move. It won't move. And yes, I have to do this to both sides of the headband. So is this a little time consuming? Yes. Would it have been easier to wrap it the way I was wrapping in it? The way I was wrapping it, yes. It was easier, but I didn't have enough fabric. So, like I said, what do we do on this channel? We make it work. Designer, make it work. Because somebody put in the, oh, you caught me. You caught it. Yes, Tim Gunn. Very good. Tim Gunn. Yes. I used to love it when he would tell the designers, make it work. Oh, and by the way, guys, we do have a hurricane here in Florida, in Pendon, not in my area, but please say a prayer for those who are directly in the line of that storm, in the up by Tallahassee and Big Bend area. Hurricanes are no fun. It's just like snowstorms. They are no fun, and nobody wants to see any life lost, or the property can be replaced, although nobody wants to see somebody homeless either. Okay, my clip on this side is moving a little, so I'm just going to reclip that. And then I'm going to take this one off to give me a little bit more room to work. And what I'm doing with my thread and needle, I'm basically rocking it from side to side and picking up the part of the fabric on towards the inside. And I'm taking small stitches too, because if I do them too big, then it's not gonna stitch. It's not gonna look like it's sewn very well, and it's not gonna hold like I want it to hold. And yes, I could do a over whip stitch, but then you would see that if you look closely, you cannot see where the thread is. That's my goal. And again, maybe if I had my hot glue gun powered up, I would hot glue it and then I would still stitch it, because I hate poor quality things sewn and put together, because I hate when it falls apart. I remember a funny story with a glue gun. I used to, when I made my children's hair bows, I used to glue the bow onto the headband, or the barrette clip. And I did that for my daughter's hair bow, and we were in church, and the hot glue the bow fell off of the hair bow, and all was left with that was that little silver clip. I was so mad. I was like, that's not the cute hair bow I made. So from that point forward, I began to secure everything with thread, with a thread tack. Okay. You know, sometimes it could get awkward when you're doing this because of the things, the clips holding it in place. But I like doing handwork. It's relaxing to me. Some people can't stand it. And again, somebody would have already glued this and been done with it by now. But they would have been done. But like I said, this is for a very special person, and I don't want it to fall apart. I like putting extra love and care. Ooh, my hand is cramping a little though. That's not good. And because this is a metallic knit, it's not as easy for the needle to go through in some spots. I got to exercise my hand, guys. It's cramping a little. So this has never happened to me before. It needs to stop. Okay. And again, I'm just picking up one side and going to the other side. Trying to speed it up a bit. because I still got the other side to do. And again, it would have been much easier had I had an extra piece of fabric to make a tube and slip this through the tube. Usually I have this, I may need to rest it on the table to stitch it because my hand is cramping for whatever reason. Okay. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I was trying to hold it closer to the camera so that you could see. So look, we did all of that. That's great. The last pair of ears like this I made, it seemed like it took about 8 hours, believe it or not. Now, of course, in the mouse house, in the factory, they are not doing this. They have thousands of these things to make. So nobody's sitting there sewing ears like this. But you see how pretty that looks? Look how neat that looks. Can you see that? That's so awesome. Last week I did a gown for a client, and it had sequins on it. I was just hemming it for her, and I had to cut the sequins off in order to be able to stitch the hem around the edges, because I broke 3 needles trying to hem it, because I was trying to do it without having to take all of that off. So again, I'm wiggling my thread from one side to the other. You have to love to sew, because some people would not have the patience. I remember my grandmother used to tell me that she did not see how I had the patience to do the little tedious stuff like this. And on one of the streams, I'm gonna actually design some doll clothes for you guys to see. My thread is getting caught on everything. Let me clean my area a little. Oh, where's my needle? I lost my needle. Okay, there it is. Okay. Uh-oh, I got a knot in my thread. Hopefully it doesn't get in the way. Okay. The part on this is not the black part that is slowing things up, it's the side, the mermaid fabric, the knit side, because this is a different knit, and it's going through rather easily, but it kind of causes it to stop a little. It doesn't slip right through, nor can I pick it up really easily like the black side. And I just pulled it out of my needle, so I have to rethread my needle. Some of the casualties of war. And if you see, if you look, you might be able to see that that edge is frayed. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. Cut it on an angle, and then it slips right through the eye of the needle. The fun part is the for me is the decorating part once I put it together and then start deciding. And yes, just like we did the sneakers last week, just like we did these, we're going to put some bling on these ears. If you haven't learned and you haven't recognized, I love bling. I love rhinestones. I love pearls. I love diamonds. All that. But do you see how the inside is nice and neat? The edges is nice and neat on this side. That's what I love to see. Your garment, your project should look just as nice on the inside as it looks on the outside. And when I was in high school, you know how teenagers are. When my teacher talked about the inside of my garment and how it needed to look just as nice on the inside as it did on the outside, I said, oh, like somebody's gonna walk up to you and say, oh, that's a nice outfit, can I see the inside? Typical teenager. And it's so funny that that's one of my pet peeves now. I was like, I wish she was alive to see how I transform from that little smart aleck student to now that's her pet peeve became my pet peeve. And you know what? That happens with the educator and the student. And speaking of students, I taught family and consumer science in middle school, and I'm friends with one of my former students. She's a young adult now, and she just texted me this week and told me that she got a grant for $10,000. And I was like, excuse me? She says, yeah, it was in the list of grants that I I sent you. I was like, you're gonna have to send me that link again. Send me that link again. I said, because I said, you need to write that grant for your teacher. I'm so proud of her. That's like her second grant that she has gotten in probably about, I would say, 5 years. So I'm super proud of her, super excited for what she wants to do. She wants to start a program for young adults, teenagers, high schoolers with financial literacy. So that was the premise of her grant. And so that is very needful. And I'll be here supporting her when she gets everything going. She's has appointments with a few stakeholders, like two principals of two of our local high schools, and also several presidents at a couple of banks here in this area. So I think it's so cool that she came up with that idea. Okay, so now with this end, I'm at the end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this under, and I am going to pin this edge to make it neat. And we're going to go right on around. So I'm curving the edge of this so that I could stitch around it. And this I might do the little edge, like a little whip stitch, because I don't want that to come out. So I think I am going to do on the end just a little whip stitch. But I just didn't want to do that on the other part. So I'm just poking it in, because I want all of that to stay tucked in. And this is a little bit more secure, so that's why I am doing that little whip stitch on the edge of this. And I'm poking it in. And you know, they do make what's called a thimble. I do use a thimble sometimes to protect. A thimble is a protective device that you put on the end of your finger to become like when you're poking it through, so then you don't get pricks. If this was a sharper needle, it would go right through my finger. So they are a good idea to have and to use. I do have two of them. I don't have any here. They're in my studio. So now that we've made it around that edge, can you see what the edge looks like? That's what the edge looks like. Thank you for blocking, restricting someone. We don't have foolishness on this channel. There's no space for foolishness. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just continuing to rock my needle and stitch like I did the other side. So again, that's what it's looking like. And I'm trying to do small stitching because I want to pick up as much fabric and not leave big gaps for the, it's not going to fray like a woven fabric because this is a knit, but I don't want the edge to poke out. I want it to look like it was glued down, but actually we're stitching it. So I'm going to put that there. Now, again, a quicker way to have done this is to cut a instead of making this 1 inches, I could have made it 2 inches and then stitched it on the edge, turned it inside out, and slipped the headband through it. And then that would have eliminated the need to stitch it on the edge like this. But again, we didn't have enough fabric to do that. And then wrapping it the way I started it, I was going to run out of fabric. And I wanted this pretty fabric to be all over the headband. So that's why I'm choosing to do it this way. And as you can tell, this side is going a little bit faster because the other side is already in place. Oh, thank you. Thank you, All About Glam. I'm hand sewing this, yes. Not threading. I'm hand sewing. Threading is what you do to a needle or a machine. And again, I could have taken the shortcut and glued this, but I didn't want to. First of all, I didn't want it to look sloppy. I didn't want the glue to come off. That E6000 glue that I use is really good, and it probably would have worked, but then I would have had to wait in order to finish it. It would have had to glue dry overnight. And sometimes I want instant gratification. I want to see it finish. I want to see what it looks like. That's why I was never really a quilter. I admire people who quilt, but quilts can take so much time. And when I went to Hawaii years ago, they had a quilting show, and you want to talk about some intricate, beautiful quilts. They were amazing, and they took hours. So me sitting here and sewing this is nothing like what they did. So I appreciate the various types of art forms because each artist is different. No two artists are exactly the same. I used to make these dolls, and I'm going to endeavor to make one for my granddaughter, but I made over 200 of them, and we called them small fries because they kind of put you in mind of the Cabbage Patch doll when those first came out. And so I used to have sales galore because these were tinier, so the little people, they weren't too heavy. Because if you know anything about the Cabbage Patch doll, if you remember, it was very, very heavy. And for a toddler, a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, they were too heavy for them to carry. But my little small fries, they were so cute. They could carry them, they could play with them. And again, like I said, I made over 200 of them and sold them, shipped them all across the US to different private people. And I custom made some to look like the person, like one lady was a mounted drill. I forget what her official title was, but she was on a horse, and she had chaps and a specific outfit that she wore. It was the lady's sister, and so I made the doll to look like her sister with a blonde French braid, and then the chaps. And then I went out and found a horse at a toy store and put the doll on the horse to mimic her riding horses. So it was so cute. Then I did one. The person's daughter was a cheerleader, and so I made the cheerleader outfit and put made her little boots and her little furry hat, everything. It was so adorable. Thank you. But I teach sewing. So if well, actually, if you hang out with me on this channel, you will be able to pick up so many different skills. And I plan on teaching a course, a digital course in sewing, where I'm teaching you techniques, and but you could watch it and do it at your pace, and then have a forum where you could ask questions when you get stuck. So see, we're almost done. That didn't take too long, did it? I just got this one little section here to finish, and then this part is finished. And then we can decorate the band and put the ears on. And then I'm going to kind of finger to find where the ears go. I might need that. But sometimes your tools might get in the way. So sometimes you have to do freehand. I'm going to tack this off before I run out of thread, because my thread is getting very, very small. So I'm creating a loop, and then I'm going to rethread. See, this is all I had left, was this little bit of thread. All I had is that little bit. So I'm going to cut that off and rethread it and start and get another piece of thread.
1-800-Flowers.com knows that a gift is never
Okay.
just a gift. A gift is an expression of everything you feel.
So I'm going to thread the needle again.
1-800 Flowers takes the pressure off by helping you navigate
What
life's
would be
important
cool?
moments by
Oh, the
making it simple to
class?
find the perfect gift. From flowers and cookies to cake and chocolate. 1-800
Oh,
Flowers
sure.
helps guide you in finding the right gift to say how you feel. To learn
Sure.
more, visit 1-800-Flowers.com
That would be great to do
That's
a live stream.
1-800-Flowers.com/Spotify.
Now you saw me touch like the like old school, touch your tongue and make a knot. That's just habit. You just can't do that with the edge of the thread, because you'll never get it through the eye of the needle, because like I said, the thread swells. Now before I get to the end on this one, I'm going to trim it a little bit more on the end. I'm going to cut a little bit off, and then I'm going to tack this under, so that when I get to that part, I can stitch it like I did the other side. So I'm finishing off the end. So I just have to do this little end here. And like I said, I am going to do a whip stitch on the end of this like I did the other side, because I do want that to stay. If you look closely, let's see if I can get it under the camera. Okay. Okay, if you look closely, you can see the little tiny stitches. That's in the way. Okay, you can see the little tiny stitches. Okay. You can see some of my designs on my, I have two Instagram pages, one called Capturing Your Style, and that's all about styling and styling clients, styling myself. And then I also have another Instagram page called Elvatanza, where I showcase some of my designs. Okay, so I'm getting down to the wire on this side. So, and again, just regrouping, thinking about what we tried with trying to put this um, mermaid print on the headband itself. We didn't have enough fabric. We tried wrapping it, but I could quickly see that I was going to run out of fabric, so that wasn't an option. So that's when I decided to, I was, the original way I was going to stitch it on the sides and then put ribbon down the middle on the inside. And then when I looked at it and saw the how pretty the edge looked tucked under, that's what gave me the idea to just tuck it under. So now I'm going to do the edge, do the whip stitch around the edge like I did on the other side. And I'm poking in these little edges. And I want it to look round. I don't want little square edges. So again, I need to poke that under and stitch it down. So that's what I'm doing. I'm tucking it in with my needle, picking up the edge and stitching it. And again, these edges are going to, when the headband is put on and off, taken on and off, I don't want it to slip or move. And so that's why I'm doing the whip stitch on the edge, and you won't be able to really see it. And especially if it's behind the hair, and it's not that it looks bad or anything like that, but it is a more secure way to finish the edge of this headband without putting an extra piece of fabric. Sometimes if you look at headbands, they have a piece of grosgrain ribbon. This is grosgrain ribbon. And sometimes they have a smaller piece tucked at the edge and wrapped around the edge of the headband. If you look at some of the ones in the store, or maybe if you wear headbands, if you look at the edge of them, you'll see that they're tucked like that. But so far, you see how that's looking? I think it's looking right pretty. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can hear my AC going on and off, but let me tell you, my AC went out, and the blower, actually not the air conditioner itself, just the blower. So having that blower on in here, trust me, is a welcome sound. Hopefully it's not disturbing the sound of the stream, but I'm gonna tell you, it's so nice to have it on because it was not working and I had to get it repaired. Thankfully, I have an awesome air conditioner company here in this area called Southern Air, and they didn't hesitate to come out and check out everything and see what was wrong, fix me up. Okay, so you see That looks just as nice on the inside, on the ends. Looks really good. I'm gonna go back up here. I see a little edge that's trying to peek through. And anytime you hand stitch, do some back stitching to hide your thread. That's a way to finish off the edge. Okay, so we are done. That only took 50 years, but hey, what's a year or two to making it look nice? And I did tack that. I just did whip the thread back and forth. You like that it looks great inside and out? Yes, I love that. And it already had a little glue on the inside. Nothing I did. But you know, sometimes when I do alterations and stuff is like that, that's the part that gets me. It's like, I didn't do that. That didn't happen on my watch. Okay, so now we have that. And before we put the ears on, let's see. Before we put the ears on, I want to try something and see how I like it. Let's see. I've got this pretty, I don't know if this is going to work. The nice thing about designing, like I said, is that you play around and you see if you like it. Ooh, I do like that. What do you think? Somebody chime in and tell me what you think of if I put that around. Do you like it with it or without it? Or we could just put rhinestones on it. Let's see, what if I wrapped it? What would it look like wrapped? No. I don't think I like it. But I am going to put rhinestones on afterwards. So, what I am going to do is, and I can feel in this area is where, and I'm just going to mark it where the ear was. So right in through here is the start, and then here is the end, and the same thing over here. This is the start, and then this is the end. So do you like the rhinestones? I like the rhinestones, but I think I want to put them on individually as opposed to the whole strip. What do you think? See, it would either look like that or I think I like it better placing them on like that. Without the strip, the white. Yeah, I think so too. I think it looks pretty like that. So that we can do after we put the ears on. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to poke the edge of the ear in. So I'm going to close that up like that. So I'm going to close the ends, and I'm going to stitch this closed like that. So you see how I closed that? I made like a sandwich. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And that's why I added a little extra fabric. Instead of 1/8 of an inch, I did 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on this part of the ear. Yes, I am on Etsy. I need to populate my Etsy store though with some different things. I think I have a couple of t-shirts in there, but I need to get cracking and put a little bit more of my designs on Etsy. But something like this, I don't think I would put on Etsy. Okay, so now we're gonna close this up, and then I'm going to stitch it onto the headband. Okay, so I'm going into the corner to pull that through. And then I'm just going to rock my needle back and forth like I did before. So what I'm doing when I rock my needle back and forth, I'm catching thread. Not thread, fabric, sorry. I'm catching sides of the fabric to cause it to be stitched together. And then I'm going to stitch this on, and I'll probably whip it on. So this one doesn't take as long to do. So when I get to the end, I'm just gonna back stitch and then if you notice, I'm gonna put the thread through the loop to make a knot. So that's how I knot it. So that's done, and then I'm gonna come back through the seam to hide my thread. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side too. So now that is closed up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other ear. What you do to one ear, you do to the other ear. You don't want an ear that's different. We want symmetrical ears. But that would be kind of cool to do 2 different ears if you were working on like a cyberpunk Mickey Mouse ear. That might be pretty cool. I may have to play around with that. Cyberpunk Mickey ears, Minnie ears. Oh, and we are going to use that little piece of fabric. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that last little bit of fabric. We are going to use that. We are very sustainable. We believe in using every ounce of what we have when we can. Everything is not feasible to be completely sustainable, but we try very hard to not be wasteful. Okay. So like I said, this side is a lot easier. Okay. Okay. Can you see? Welcome, Raiders. Welcome. We are working on the mouse ears. We took them apart. We're covering them. They were solid black. And we're making a mermaid theme Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse ears. And we're hand sewing. Okay, so now this is where I wish I had my glue gun powered up. But what I am going to do, now I am going to glue this, but then I'm going to go back and stitch it too. Let me see. I really like the other glue that I was using because it seemed to dry really fast. Okay, this one hasn't been open. I want to use one that's already open because this E6000 glue, it will dry up, and when you go to use it, it's already glued. Okay, so this is parchment paper that I'm putting it on to make sure that it's glued. So I'm gonna put a bead of glue right on the edge. And I love this glue because it's very, sorry, you didn't see me put the bead of glue on it. Okay, so now we're going to, where we have it marked, we're going to put this right in the center. And like I said, I'm going to go back and I am going to stitch this as well. So not only am I going to glue it, but I am going to stitch it down too. So what I'm doing, I put straight pins in it to hold it in place because I want that glue to set and be strong. So see, that one is on. That one is on. And we're going to do the other one, glue it right here where I marked it from the original ear. So again, I'm just going to squeeze some E6000 glue on. And I do have a clump that is already glued that I want to take off. That's what I just took off. So now I'm going to glue this right where I had the white chalk marks. And I am going to pin it. So I'm pinning it. But again, like I said, I am going to go back and I am going to stitch that. Because I do not want my ears to fall off. And sometimes when it's hot, hot glue melts and softens again, and that's when stuff fall off. Okay, I'm looking at that. What I'm doing is looking at the ears to make sure that they're in the same location. And they appear to be, I think I could move this one down just a hair. I just want to move it down just a hair. And as you can see, the glue has already begun to adhere. I'm going to close my tube of glue up because, like I said, this E6000 glue, it dries really fast. So I close it back up and then I'm going to stitch this. So again, I'm looking to make sure that it is, while this is, I'm gonna let it glue, I'm gonna let it sit a little And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those, with this little piece here, this little piece of fabric. So I have lines on this board here, and I'm just going to try to cut these extra pieces off. Oh, my camera moved. That's why you couldn't see. Sorry. I accidentally knocked my camera. So I'm going to cut this. Okay. And then I'm going to cut this other side. And this is not square, but that's the way the print is. But what I'm going to do is bring this over and try to cut a square. And I'm just really imagining where that line is underneath the fabric. So then I'm going to do the opposite side. And I want to keep as much fabric as I can. Okay. So, and I can see that this is a little, it's not bad. So I'm going to take this, well, first I'm going to fold it over like this. And then I'm going, it's only going to make a little teeny tiny bow. I needed a bigger bow, but that's okay. So what I'm trying to do is to make a little bow, but it's not that big. Let me see if I do it on the diagonal. Again, what do we say? On this channel, we make it work. But I don't know that this is going to work. Let's see. We may not be able to get the bow that I wanted, because I wanted a pretty decent sized bow to put in the middle. But I have an idea. Let's go. So I'm going to hand stitch this. I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to stitch the edges. And I'm twirling it on my finger to make a knot. You see the knot I made? So I'm going to stitch this close to the end. This is how you could sew the ears if you didn't have a sewing machine, if you wanted to do around the edge like I did. Okay. And this doesn't have to be stitched like the edge of the ear part, because this is going to be on the inside. And you'll see what I mean. You're not going to be able to see this. And what I'm going to do is just do an end like that to kind of stitch it so it doesn't come out. Okay, so now I am going to turn it inside out. So now I have a little bit bigger piece. So now I'm going to fold this in like that. And it's still going to be a little tiny bow, but it's still cute. Isn't that cute? So I'm going to put a pin there. I'm going to stitch it first. So let me get some more thread. That's all the thread I had. Can you see? So I'm going to get another piece of thread. Get another piece of thread. If I could find the end to the thread. Okay, there it is. Okay, so that's threaded, and then I'm gonna tie a knot, and I'm using a double thread. You don't always use a double thread, but in this case I want a double thread, and I'm just folding this over, and then I'm going to stitch through all of those layers, and it is kind of thick. So what I'm doing is stitching in the middle of this, because then we're going to scrunch it all together. So I'm going to open it a bit, and then I'm going to, ideally this would be a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Then I'm going to wrap this around. So then there's my little bow that we made with that little scrap of fabric. So then I'm going to tack this on the back, and then I think I'm going to use a piece of the grosgrain ribbon. And by the way, hot glue works great on fabric. It's hard to pull it off. If you saw the beginning of the stream when I was pulling it off of the black felt fabric. So let's see, am I going to put a bow? I think that's adorable. Oh, you can't see, sorry. What do you think? Bow ties have a slit in the back. So let's see, let's take this. And the nice thing about grosgrain ribbon, I don't have a cigarette lighter in here, but you can burn the edge of grosgrain ribbon. So let's see, I think that's cute like that. I think I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. So you take that, and you take that, and you take that. Yeah. And then I'm going to cut the bottom, and then I'm going to finish the edge. You could use the edge of a candle. So I've got to take my needle, and ideally, ouch, I just stuck myself. I need some lavender thread, and I see some. Hold on just a moment. Yes, I could use black, but I don't want black. So I just found my lavender thread. And yes, if you notice, I did cut myself. hazards of sewing. But guess what I have out here? Some handy dandy wipes for mishaps like that. I've been stuck so many times, I can't even tell you. So we're just going to get this blood off so that we are not spreading germs on our project. Get our hands nice and clean. Make sure that poke. Make sure I'm not bleeding anymore. Yep, wipes a clutch. There we go. Okay, so now let me change the color thread to purple. And then we're gonna have to do the bow again, but that's okay. So I threaded that. There. So now we're gonna make the bow again. I already cut it, so I'm gonna use the fabric I have. And I just kind of look at the loops when I'm making the bow. And actually, let me see. I might have some ribbon that I can use. So I'm going to be right back. Okay, we are back.
Download for free on the App Store or Google Play.
So what we did was we went and got some thinner ribbon, and I'm just going to take this instead of I normally sew it. Well, I think I will take just a couple of run-in stitches so it doesn't pull out, because sometimes when you just use the ribbon it will pull out. So I'm stitching in the center, making sure my loops look the same. Okay. And so you see I did the same thing I did the other way, scrunching it in the middle, and I don't think that's too big. I think that's cute. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this thread with the needle up here, and then I'm going to take this ribbon that I went to get when I said be right back, and actually I'm going to do two. I'm going to do two. I'm going to cut it. And I think I don't want to use that one. Okay, so now I'm going to tie this one around in the middle. Again, I'm keeping my needle away from my bow. I'm going to tie this in a knot. because I wanted that to hang like that. And then I'm going to cut these tails. And again, I'm going to singe the edge of the bow. So now I'm going to put this little guy in the center. So can you see what it's looking like? Okay. So my needle is still on. So now I'm going to put my little bow, making sure that this side with the fabric is towards the inside of the bow, and I'm stitching it on like that. Okay, and what I'm doing now is securing the little bow on the big bow to make sure it's not going to fall off. So I had to do the same thing on the other side. And again, this part you can use hot glue, and because it's fabric, it should adhere without it falling off. Okay, so that's how that's going to look. And I think what we're going to do, remember the little seashell? Remember the little seashell? I think I want to put that, I think I want to hang that right in the center there. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stitch that on. And like I said, I'm designing this as I go. And basically, you have to know what you want it to look like. You may not have a completely mapped out idea. You could. Sometimes when I'm working with a garment, I sketch it. But in this case, now I could have, let's see. Ooh, now that looks pretty. I think I want that. See, you never know. You just never know what you want to do. So it's always, I have so many crafting supplies. Actually, I like the thicker one, I think. Let's see. I'm going to cut a piece of this thick one and see how I like it. Okay, so I think I'm going to put that. Okay, that's a little too thick because my bow is so tiny. So I think I want 2. So let's see what 2 looks like. I like 2. I like the 2. So this is where, when you don't know what you're doing, sometimes you have to work backwards, but that's okay. So I'm going to take this off so that I can put that piece in the middle, because I really like that in the middle. Okay. So now, where's my E6000 glue? I'm going to put that in the middle. And I'm going to put a little piece in the middle. And then I'm going to take this and wrap it in the middle. And look at there, we cut just enough. Hot diggity dog. I like it when a plan comes together. Okay, so do you see what that looks like? And then we're going to we're going to stitch that. We're going to put a little glue on the end. We're going to put a little glue there to hold that in place. But I'm also going to stitch it too. But while this is drying a little, I'm going to go back to the ears and glue those on. So I'm going to let that glue in place. I'm going to let it set. But these are bugging me, so I'm going to cut them a little. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so that's the bow that we're working with. Now we're going to go back, and we're going to still come back for our little shell. But before we do that, I'm going to stitch the ears. Let's see. And I'm going to use the black thread because that's what predominantly shows on this. As soon as I can find the thread, sometimes it gets lost like that, but there it is. And I do have a little trash can because, as you can see, well, you can't see, but it starts to get a bit messy when you keep grabbing this and grabbing that. That's one of the hazards to sewing. And I thought I cut a piece off. Okay, maybe I didn't. There. And again, I'm going to leave it 2 strand. I'm going to do 2 strand to make it a little bit stronger. But I have to really make sure that it doesn't show. And then that's how I make my little knot. I'm going to cut off this little end of the knot. And then I'm going to go in here. I'm going to grab the corners to make sure my ears are secure. And again, once this E6000 glue dries, I have glued ceramic and it stayed, so it's not going to go anywhere. It shouldn't. So I'm just reinforcing the ears onto the fabric headband part. I'm going underneath. If you remember, I stitched them together, this folded the ends in and did a little running stitch back and forth to close up the opening. Because we do not want somebody to be wearing these and then all of a sudden their ear falls off. What kind of foolishness is that? And actually, during this part, I'm trying to grab even the underneath part, like the black part that we stitched the mermaid fabric to. So I'm going through the mermaid fabric into the headband itself. Okay. Now, what I could have done with the fabric though, before I stitched it on the edges, I could have put dots of glue underneath it to hold it in place so that it wouldn't move. And that would have been okay. And then still secured the edges like I did. Yes, we've got ears. Yay! We've got ears. And just for the record, when I sew something, I hate doing alterations on my own work because it is sewn so well that I hate taking it apart. So I try to make sure it's right from the start. Now, because I'm going through several layers, it does get a little bit more challenging. But as you can see, it flops, but it's not going, oops, it flops, but it's not going anywhere. And again, we're just gonna secure those edges down. And I highly recommend, if you do this, to use a thimble so that you don't accidentally poke yourself. And I know some of y'all are probably saying, oh, I'm going to be gluing, so don't worry about me sticking myself. And that's okay. So what? You do you and what you want to do. Okay. So that ear is on. I'm going to go and do the other one. Okay. And what I'm going to do what I'm going to attempt to do is the stitch, if I could ever get my thread to act right. There. I am going to leave this and go over to the other side without cutting my thread. And that will create an even more secure ear.
If you love iPhone, you'll love Apple Card.
Let
It
me
comes with
see.
the privacy and security you expect from Apple. Plus, you earn up to 3% daily cash back on every purchase,
There.
which can automatically earn interest when you open a high-yield savings account through Apple Card. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app. Subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Apple Card and Savings by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Member FDIC.
Okay, so now I'm going to come through. On the underside and grab this end of this ear Okay, I'm going to take my pin out. Now this one, what I don't like is that the thread it came through a little. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want to break the thread where it was, I'm just going to cut the needle off. And then I'm going to pull this through like that. And now I'm going to rethread it. And then it's still going to be 2 strands of thread, but I'll have it like it's a single thread, because I didn't want that stitch to stay like that. And actually I'm going to cut this like that and rethread my needle. Now, of course, because this is 2 threads now going through this eye, it's a little bit more challenging, but we got it. We got it. And now I'm going to stitch the edge of this ear down. So now you guys are a witness. Yes, I hand sewed the ears, and I glued them, because I have trauma from that bow falling off of my daughter's hair bow, and so I just want to make sure they're secure. Now I would have sewn these maybe to the fabric on the sewing machine, and that would have taken less time. I'm picking up a little of the glue, so that's what you see me wiping off. But again, remember, we let these dry a little, so the glue is definitely in there. And then I'm also picking up a little bit of the headband underneath. And I'm almost at the end of this side. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull this in. And I'm basically making sure the ends of the ears are secure. And then I'm going into all of the black fabric, because I want it stitched to that too, so it doesn't move. So there. So I'm just securing this in place. And then I'm going to knot it. Now this is getting a little harder because it's going through the glue. So what I'm going to do is pick up a little piece that doesn't have glue on it and secure that, because there's no way I'm going to get through the glue. Okay. And then I'm just going to tack this in place. There, like that. And then I'm going to come out through the black side. Again, I'm going to stitch like that. I'm going to try to go back in the needle because I want to knot this. If I cut it right there, it can pull apart, and I don't want that. So unfortunately, I've got to get this back through the needle again. Had I not cut it, it wouldn't have pulled out like that. But it did. Okay, so I got one in. Now I need to get this other one in. So sometimes I'll do it one by one because sometimes doing both at the same time can be challenging. Come on. And this is where those old-fashioned little needle threaders work too. And I have one of those. But where is it? At the studio. Yay! Okay. Patience is a virtue. Okay, this is being difficult, but we are going to get it in this hole right now. There. There we go. Woo. Okay, so I did all of that, and all I wanted to do was take it through one more time, and then one more time to knot it to make sure it wasn't going to go anywhere, and then one more time for good measure. There we go. So now I'm just going to cut this. So now we got the ears on, and I think I like this side for the front. So I'm going to put it down like this, because in the next part I'm going to go back to the bow that we made, this bow. I'm going to go back to this bow, and I'm going to stitch. I think I'm going to do the lavender thread this time again, because my bow is lavender. So I'm going to thread it again. Yes, you thread the needle like 50 million times. That's my favorite number, by the way. 50 million. That's my exaggeration number. So how long did it take? 50 million years? How much does it cost? $50 million? When I say that, you know it took a long time. That's the moral of that story. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave this double, and I'm not going to knot it because I want to put it through the bow. And then I'm going to show you a trick. If you go back, don't pull the tail all the way through. You do the needle like that. And then I have a loop. Then I'm going to go through the loop. Excuse me. Oops, I pulled too hard before I tighten it. So I'm leaving the tail, and then I'm going to go through. And then I'm going to go through one more time. I'm making a knot without actually knotting it. This time I'm going to pull hard through this loop, and it's going to make a knot. Do you see that? It's not going anywhere. So now I'm going to stitch these two together. Okay. So the next time somebody tells you, oh, it's just really simple, Now you know that even with simple takes time. And can you imagine the they say haute couture gowns, how many hours it takes, because all of that is hand sewn. You will not find glue on those garments. And I don't even think they glue rhinestones. I think all the rhinestones are sewn. But you can pull any of that up on YouTube and watch how they construct those garments. It's just amazing, and I love watching it because it's just beautiful. I wish I had a team when I'm working on my couture gowns, because it takes me hours to sew a garment, and it breaks my heart when people don't understand and they say, "How much is that? Why does it cost so much?" Because this isn't, as my instructor used to say, this isn't the other Corvette. Hey, hey, Copa. So I am securing this rhinestone piece. And as you guys can, if those of you who saw when we tried to see what it looked like to put this strip, actually it was the skinny strip. We tried to put that on the band and we didn't like the way it looked. Sometimes you have to play around with a design to see what looks. And after doing this for so many years, you develop an eye for when it's too much or when it's just not right. You might not be able to explain why you don't like something, but it just for some reason in your eye doesn't work. And that's the part of design that I like. And sometimes I have friends where I'll get their opinion and who have a eye for fashion or eye for different things. Hold on one second. I got to take this call. It's my mom. I think she arrived at her destination. Hello? Okay. I'm on stream, so I got to go. I'm glad y'all made it safely. Home, but I got to go. All right. Enjoy. Bye bye. So they went to a 3 day conference to learn more about herbs and taking care of their bodies. So she was letting me know she got to her room. Okay, so I'm happy for that. Alrighty, so there's our little bow. So now what I'm going to do, I am going to sew on our little seashell. Let's see, where's our seashell? She sells seashells down by the seashore. Where are you? Okay, I don't see it, so we're going to grab another one. I have another one, so we're going to put this right here, right there. So what I'm going to do is take this thread through here, and I am going to take this, whoops, I'm going to put it right through this little loop as if it were a button. And honestly, I could be using silver or white thread, but I don't think it's gonna show. It's not as if I were if I were using black, where it wouldn't look good. Okay, so can y'all see what I'm doing? Sewing that little pearl there. It's all in the details. Okay, so now that that is on, and that's gonna kind of dangle like that, I'm gonna go back to the back. Now I've got to figure out how we're gonna secure this to the headband. we're gonna sit it right in the middle like that. Can you, oh wait, we're gonna sit it right in the middle like that. So, let me see. I think I'm gonna, let's see. Okay, I kind of got it. I'm gonna stitch this to the headband in the middle. I'm gonna find the middle and I'm gonna stitch that in the middle. And as you can see, I didn't cut my thread
If you love iPhone,
because I
you'll
wanted
love
to
Apple Card. It comes with the privacy and
all
security you
be
expect from Apple.
one
Plus,
continuous
you earn up to 3%
piece.
daily cash back on every purchase, which can automatically earn interest when you open a high-yield savings account through Apple
Okay.
Card. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app. Subject to credit approval. Savings is
Okay.
available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Apple Card and Savings by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Member FDIC. Terms and
So
more
on
at
this side,
applecard.com.
I'm gonna go through here. Okay, I gotta find that pin. Okay. I will pin it in a moment after I tack the middle part down because I do not want that moving. So there, so that's not going to go anywhere. Now we just need to tack it in the front and then that part is on. So I'm going to stitch this. And I'm going to knot this. Trying to make sure my thing keeps moving. Sorry guys. I keep hitting the camera, I guess. Okay. And I'm going to knot this like I did the other piece, and then I'm going to clip it, and then I'm going to see what we have from the front, and I'm going to tack, turn that. So I'm going to pin this to the ear, and I may put a little spot of glue. Let's see. I want that to sit open before I glue anything. Make sure it's in the right spot. Let's see. I want that bow to be pretty, so that's why I'm playing around with it. There, I like it right there. Sometimes you just have to play around with this stuff to make sure it's where you want it. So that side is like I want it. Now I just need to get this side like I want it. Let me see. Nope, I don't like the way it's doing my bow, y'all. Okay, I like that. There you go. And then that one will be up there. So I'll have to tack that where I want it. And tack this one there. Okay, so I'm not gonna bore you guys with tacking that, but I am going to move on, and we are going to put a little sparkle so that you can see it with the sparkle, and then I can tack it at another time. But right now, let's get some bling. Let's get some bling on these ears. You know me and bling. So let me see what I've got. What do I have? Let me see. I don't think I'm gonna like these. I think these aren't elegant enough for this design. Let's see. I didn't think I like. I wish these were a different color. So we're going to stick with the white. I think, yeah. We're going to stick with the white. But this is how you just play around with what you have and see how it looks. So I think I'm going to stick with the clear because that's so nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our paper, our parchment paper. We're going to put a spot of glue on it. And then we're going to close it up. And where are the tweezers? Y'all should see all this mess I have on the table. I do not see my tweezers. Oh, never mind. They were on the table over there. Okay, so, oops. What I am going to do is use a straight pen. Actually, I'm going to use this little stick like I used last week. And I'm going to take a piece of the end, and I'm going to put a dot of glue, and then I'm going to take the rhinestone. This is the hardest part, is picking it up. Then we're going to glue on some rhinestones. And no, I don't have a pattern. I'm just putting them where I think I want them. And yes, I do have the tool where you can pick up rhinestones, but I still find that I like placing them myself. Okay. That has a little bit of glue. Okay, I'm going to turn this around. Actually, I'm going to get another pair of my tweezers. That might be better. I think these might pick up better. We're going to see. And yes, I do have a lot of tools. I've collected them over time. Some I got from, oh, this is much better. Much better. Some I got from just straight out purchasing them. Some I got from buying junk in thrift stores. Some I've forgotten that I had. And when I got ready to fix this area up for streaming, I was like, actually, I saw something online and I was like, oh, I need one of those. That's so cool. And then when I cleaned up, I found a pair. I was like, oh, never mind. Never mind. Let's see. And I am going to try to put some little ones up here too. So I do have some little rhinestones. But yeah, oh my gosh, this is working so much better. Those other tweezers were too big. And every now and then I get more glue because it dries really fast. And that's why I like the little tubes. It costs more, but I find that the big tubes of E6000, unless I'm working with a big project, it dries up too fast. Okay. You saw me bragging on you and now you gonna act up? Okay, we need a whole lot more. I think I want a couple more, then I'm gonna put some little ones different places. Well, one good thing is not raining. I don't hear it raining really bad. We were supposed to get a lot of rain, but it's not raining hard. I hope the people in the other areas are doing okay because I saw a lot of water in the Panhandle, and it actually was in Tampa too. Okay, I'm just gonna dump those out because it's just easier. Okay, and I like to count. So my cousin taught me something. She used to do floral work, and she always said to do odd numbers. So I have 8 rhinestones, so I'm gonna do 9 just to be odd on this side. She said it just looks better, and I tend to agree that you don't always want an even number when you're designing something. Ooh, that's so pretty. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna count out. Uh-oh. What did I do with my other rhinestones? I'm gonna be in trouble. What did I do with my other rhinestones? I was just going to town. As y'all know, I have my good rhinestones, and then I say the phony ones. Okay, good. This is the tool that I was talking about that I have, and it picks up rhinestones. I got some of my good rhinestones in there, so I'll have just enough. Woo! That was kind of scary there. Okay. More glue. All right, come on now, E6000. Don't let me down. Okay. And we're going to close this up. So I got 4. I need 9. Okay, you better give me my rhinestone. Okay, there we go. 9. Woo! We had to make sure we had an even amount. And now I am not trying to match this side. I'm just going to put the dots down and then put the rhinestones down. Okay, and before it dries, I'm going to pick them up and put them down. We pick them up and then we put them down. She likes how sparkly they are. Aww. Can you see the spark? Oh, I guess you can see the sparkle. That's pretty cool. But I'm telling you, this glue dries so quickly. Okay. It dries so fast. Now, can you imagine when you do like a whole sneaker? This is gonna be the most blingy mermaid ears ever. Sometimes I use toothpicks for this part too. Okay, I got 3 more to place. Uh-oh, come back here. Come back here. Uh-oh, you don't want a big glob of glue like that. But you do need enough so that the rhinestone doesn't fall off. But I tell you, this little tool is working so much better than that other tweezer. And I need some more.
Years with 10 days of exclusive unreal gifts.
Best fiend!
You nailed it, Jane. Tell our audience what they should do.
Download for free on the App Store or Google Play.
So you can see the glue, and I'm gonna try to take some of this off of the tip because I need it sharp. This is where using toothpicks come in handy because I just grab a new toothpick. Okay. Now I will kind of take a look and say, oh, can I place another one similar to the other side? And I see like on the edge, like this one is on the edge. I think I'm gonna put one here to kind of balance the other side. But there's no rhyme or reason to, and you see how fast that glue dried? I need to flip that over too. So I think I'm gonna put this right on the end. Pick up the rhinestone, we pick them up and we put it down. We pick it up and we put it down. Well, what do you think, guys? I think it's fabulous. So, thank you, All About Glam. Thank you. So, you can see how they turned out. They are so cute. So what? And they're just as pretty on the back as they are on the front. So, thank you all for sticking with me and watching me design a pair of the mouse ears. And I'm sure they're going to look fabulous worn. And as we say on this channel, designer, we make it work. You saw me make it work with what I had. This is what's left over of the fabric. That's it. That's it. That's all that's left over. And hey, I may save this for something for a doll. How about that? Still get some more work out of it. And then again, our little seashell. I love the little seashell. I think that's so adorable. So you guys have a fabulous night. Thank you so much for joining So What tonight. And like I said, have a fabulous evening. Take care. I can go back to just chatting. We can raid. Let's raid. Let's do a raid. Who are we gonna raid? Did Reaper leave? We could try to raid. Yes, raid. Let's raid. Can you do it or do I have to do it? Oh, so let's see. Can I? Let's see. How can I copy? Can I copy and paste? Let's see. Uh, at
You're watching the Weather Channel, your most accurate and dependable source of weather information 24 hours a day. Hey, good evening. You're watching the Weather Channel here on a Friday evening. Let's listen to that.
where do I put the backslash? There. Oh, raid, backslash raid. Is that it? Do I have everything? Oh, it says invalid name. I did. Let's see. Oh, I did forward slash. That's why. It's backslash. Let's see. Uh, I don't see my backslash on this computer. That's hilarious. I see forward slash. I don't see backslash. Oh, okay. Okay, I did it. It's still saying it's invalid. And I did put the I'm gonna try one more time. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. At. Okay. Yeah, it's not letting me. So next time. All right, guys. Have a fabulous night. Take care.